everyone. Welcome back to TC 911 Beyond the Call. This is your host, Abbey Dudek, and this is episode 9. And today I am talking with 911 Supervisor from Irving Police Department, Michele. Hello, Michele. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to have a chat with me.
Absolutely.
So you're here at Irving. How long have you been with the city of Irving?
Since May of 2009, so just over 14 years.
Okay, great. And how long have you been a supervisor?
I've only been a supervisor for 8 months,
Okay.
9 months, something like that.
Fresh out the box.
Yeah, fresh,
Nice.
Yes, fresh in my first year. So
Well, that's excellent.
still learning my ropes.
Now, we have talked to your other supervisor manager from Irving, and so your process was, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you started as a dispatcher or call taker, and then went to dispatcher, and then you went to CTO.
Correct.
Right, and then did you have another supervisor position?
It's a senior dispatcher.
A senior dispatcher.
It's almost like a floor lead, essentially.
Okay.
And then the supervisor position.
Oh, okay, great. Now, when you started in 2009, was this the career that you thought that you would be in for 15 years? Or did you say, hey, I think I'll do this for a little bit, but then I'm going to go, I don't know, be a dancer or a baker or an astronaut or whatever?
I had no long-term plan. I just really wanted to get out of waiting tables, which is what I was doing.
I feel you.
And actually waiting tables helped me in this role because of the multitasking and the people pleasing and the, taking care of others. So it kind of, all of my skill set there moved into this role as well.
Mm-hmm. And, I waited tables also. And see if you agree with this. I think that everyone at least one time in their life should wait tables or work in food service.
Yes, absolutely. You learn so much about the population, about people, about relationships, and
you start to learn how to read people too.
Absolutely.
I really started to learn to read people when I waited tables. Yeah, I was I waited at different restaurants, mostly big chains.
Me too.
The OG.
Yeah.
Were you at the Olive Garden?
No, I was Red Lobster, though.
Red Lobster? Okay, so you're still in the
right across the road,
Darden family.
Exactly.
Well, they're no longer part of Darden anymore, but I was at Olive Garden. You know what? I love that everyone loves the free breadsticks and salad, but I literally have PTSD from it now because people constantly wanted refills. Like, I put the bowl on the table and they'd be like, I want another one. And I'm like, why don't you finish this one, pal, before you... I mean, it's
I
not
still
going
have
anywhere.
Dreams about being in the weeds.
Oh, my gosh.
It'll never escape me. I dream about that more than I dream about anything here at work.
Horrible? Isn't that horrible? Red Lobster. I haven't eaten Red Lobster in probably 20-some years.
It's been about 14 and a half since I ate it.
There you go. That makes sense. And then their cheddar biscuits were always the fave of it. But
so that's my salad and breadsticks.
The cheddar biscuits.
Yes.
Oh boy. Yeah, that's
never ending.
Oh my gosh, that's such tough. Yeah. I have to say, well, first off, thanks for serving the food industry.
Well, you too.
Oh yeah, and you know what? Sometimes I'm a little sad because every once in a while I was like, I wish I had enough time. I would at least go wait tables for like one day out of the week, but unfortunately my schedule does not allow that. And now when age starts creeping up on you, you're like, nope, I need to sit down. I can't do that. I don't know. I need to rest. So yeah, good old waiting table. So if you're listening and you have maybe some time and you're like, you know what, I might want to try that. There's no shame in that. It's great. And actually you can make some pretty good money depending on where you work.
Yeah,
too.
Sure can.
That's okay. So clearly you decided I need to leave the RL and I need to get out of here. These lobsters need to go away.
Yes.
And so did you apply for other things or were you like, hey, 911, what's this?
So I actually applied with the city for jail records and dispatch, and just kind of this is where I landed.
Awesome.
So
Well, it's a benefit to you, and it's a benefit to them because they got you. So they saved you from lobsters. It was great.
That's so true.
So that's wonderful. Was it? Have you had any like public safety experiences prior to that? Like if your family's in it, or did you?
No.
So you were like, fresh new page, let's write this story.
Yep, and I've never even called the police before.
Okay.
Before I started working here.
Now, have you ever called the police now since you've worked here?
I've only called to make sure, like when I'm coming in and I see an accident that's not our jurisdiction.
Okay, you call.
I'm like, if we have calls on this, that's not ours. Call Fort Worth. Or something like that.
Okay, so you're actually calling for heads up on stuff like that, but not actual calls. I have to say the first time I called 911 was when I started at the district.
Oh, okay.
Like I don't think I've ever called 911 prior to that. So yeah, good fun. It's interesting how that works out. I don't like calling because I'm like, I don't want to. Do I need to give my name? Because no, I don't want to.
Anonymous.
Anonymous. Hi, this is Anonymous Abbey. Oops, I mean Anonymous. Because I'm so used to calling you guys on a different line and then saying, hey, it's Abbey. And then I'm like, no, I can't do that on 911. So, well, I love the plan that you had. You kind of like, I need to go do something else. And you went straight for a city job, that's amazing because benefits and everything are fantastic. Now, how did you see your career path here? Did you, kind of think like, you know what? I'm going to work my way up. I'm going to do this. Or were you like, I'll stay here for a little bit and then see what happens?
I was kind of open to whatever at the time. I had no 5-year plan. I had no 10-year plan. I definitely had no retirement plan. I was just my focus was to get out of the cash industry, the waiting tables, living day to day. And then I had to learn how to budget, because I'd never in my whole life had a paycheck before, because I'd always...
all the tips and stuff. Yeah.
And then I applied at the positions here that didn't require a college degree, because I don't have one. Mm-hmm. So I just basically looked on that, and here I am.
Yeah.
And during my interviews, they were like, what are your goals? And I was like, I have no idea. I was honest.
Not serve cheddar biscuits anymore.
Exactly. To get me out of...
No offense, Red Lobster.
Right.
But
they paid my bills for many years, and I'm appreciative, but...
Appreciate for the jobs we had in the past, but here we are, folks.
Exactly. Had to get out of it.
What was, like, since you came in, fresh and stuff like that, what was some of the calls that you were like, whoa, because I know in training they go over, when you're in training, you go over all these calls, and you always go for the worst case scenario, but then your first call is on your own, or the first couple weeks, you get something that was not covered or was not, like, it's just out of the...
For sure. My very first call that I had was probably, this time frame could be wrong, but my memory is maybe like the first 2 weeks of being cut loose from just the phones or the call taking position. And, it was, of course, a murder being called in by a child. So it was like a child caller and violent situation in a public place. And it was so, like, there's no preparing for that. You can talk about it,
absolutely,
but until it happens, you're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, and that's why we always say it really takes... it does take a special person to do this job, because, and I try to tell a lot of citizens when I see them and they're interested in the position, they're like, well, what kind of calls is it? I'm like, everything, because you're the lifeline. You're it. And so I always tell people, hey, watch the news, get online and read the news or do whatever. And then imagine that call had to come in, had to have been reported in some way to 911. Sure. So somebody has to get that call. So it's almost like a lottery.
Absolutely.
What you're going to get.
You never know what you're going to get. Could be on a non-emergency line.
That's true too.
And you're really grasping for information. The caller could have all of the information that you need, or they could have zero information. And you have to try to scrounge it up as best you can. So you never know what you're going to get on the other end of that line.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm sure you've probably seen a big difference in your skill setting. Like you're from when you started till now and stuff. You could probably do it in your sleep now, right?
For sure. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And being a supervisor now, I'm not on the radio as much. And I do miss that. It's fun and it's entertaining and skills sharp. Being out there, it definitely it can
It can wear on you a little bit sometimes. It is.
It takes its toll.
Yeah, because you guys have 911 dispatchers, and and that includes call takers and radio dispatchers and everything. That takes, you have a lot on your plate. You have so much responsibility, so much liability, and you all do such a great job, because it's one of those things that once you're in it, you just develop this love for it.
Right.
And you're almost like addicted to it.
Right.
And it's kind of, we talked about it before, like when something may start to seem like it's happening, like, oh, it might happen, and then it doesn't happen, and everybody's like, oh, it was nothing.
Right.
Not that anybody in the industry wishes harm to others or anything.
For sure.
It's just kind of that adrenaline movement from it and everything. So it can be a little, mentally mind bending at times and everything, and types of calls, because you'll take one call and it'll be, oh, my neighbor I stole my dog, or my neighbor cut my half the tree down, or something, which are non-emergencies. So, call the non-emergency line. And then the next one, the 911 call could be, my spouse of 30 years isn't breathing next to me, and then you have all these different emotions. But I have heard several calls that, dispatchers have such a great way of handling that. They're just amazing. Y'all are just amazing people.
Oh, well, thank you.
You're welcome.
We do our best.
Yeah, absolutely. So what, for someone who is possibly listening to this and wanting to start a career, everything, what are some things that you've learned along the way that if you could have told yourself in the beginning, or in the hiring process, or in the process of, I think I'm going to do this, what are some of the things that you may, tell them, or spread some advice or some helpful tips?
Well, I think, people applying now are obviously younger than I am at this point, but they have the positive side of things of growing up with computers a whole lot more than I did.
Oh, technology,
so they're technology inclined right off the bat, to where that was more of a learned feature for me. So, having that advantage is really amazing. And
do you think the multitasking has, with computers and technology, is expanded? Because they have to take the critical test, which is you have to listen. You have a headphones. You have to listen. You have two different radio traffics, phone traffic, and then you have a computer in front of you telling you to do stuff too. Mm-hmm. So do you think that that's a lot better with those skills are a lot better with the generations that have grown up with cell phones and everything?
Absolutely. It really, you can tell a difference. And like if I were to take that right now, I don't know how I would do. Well, I mean, I know how I would do now being in this field, but if I were coming in with no computer experience, I would be a little bit intimidated.
Oh, sure. Easily. I can definitely see how someone can be intimidated by that. So, but it's not to, it's not to, discourage anybody from applying. It's just, that's the job.
It's very fast. It's fast paced. Mm-hmm. It can be very sudden. And we all work as a team very, very quickly. We can go from all being independent, working at our own desks, to, this is an entire room assist situation, to where one person takes over, more the less important things, like
the lower priority priority calls,
like calling for a tow truck, or those kind of things. But then somebody else will be in charge of calling other cities to let them know a situation is heading their way, or somebody else is sending out a teletype for the region. So we all work as a team and figure out our roles pretty quick, and they change intermittently.
Oh, absolutely. That's great. The camaraderie of helping, because I've seen centers just come together when there's major incidences, and other situations where it's like, oh, everyone needs to come together. Right now, Texas is in a really dry spot for, really critical spot right now for possible fires, and there's fires going all over, and a lot of 3-alarm fires and higher that are going on. We just had the devastation at the Cadillac bar in downtown Fort Worth, in the stockyards, and that takes so much work. So when you see stuff like that, as you're marinating in the career of 911, there's dispatchers teaming together to help the fire dispatcher do what they need to do, call, because you have to call everyone. You have to call the electric company, you have to call the gas company, you have to call all that stuff to shut everything off. You have to, make sure that you're tracking everybody, checking on everybody, listen to the fire guys on their radios, which is never easy when they have all of that stuff on there.
Right, with their gear.
Yeah, with all their gear on and whatnot. And it's just a really dangerous time right now for fires. And so, but again, there are dispatchers behind there that are working together. Now you guys transfer your fire calls, but you still send police for support, for traffic help and everything. So it's a huge effort. There's so much that goes on and then the emergencies don't stop.
Correct. It just keeps on keeping on.
Just because there's one major incident, unfortunately, people are like, oh, you know what? Let's hold off because they have this going on and I feel really bad for them. It doesn't happen like that at all.
No, absolutely not.
So that's, I really, again, I can't commend this 911 industry enough on what everyone does. What are some of the, now that you're a supervisor, what are some of the ways how you like to coach and mentor your 911 dispatchers who are on your shift or how that, under you or however you want to say that?
I think for the majority of my time here, I have a pretty even temperament no matter what, mood I'm in. I try to stay on even-ish.
Stay neutral.
Yeah, even-ish feel.
Be Switzerland.
Yes, I try. It doesn't always work, but I try.
It's okay. We all have bad days. We're all human, you know.
But I think just showing up for your people says a lot to them and for them. Following through with simple things like emails and, if stuff is broken, getting it fixed or, it's the little things that add up over time that I think make people want to work for you or with you or work on your shift.
I 100% agree with that. And what I've noticed too is you're very into, and I say this because you volunteered with things that I have put out in the district and very responsive of like different things. I give the dispatchers an opportunity to help in the community. And you came out for the Cycle Nation and rode like a champ and for American Heart Association, which was great. And, I think that also, when your staff sees that or when your teammates see that and stuff and like, hey, that's our supervisor, they went out and did that, that might encourage them to be like, okay, I may want to partake in some of the stuff that goes out. I may want to do that, however they can help, if it's just donating online or actually coming out and doing that. So I think it's great that you set good examples of leadership, because I think it's important for if there's something going on that leadership should try to, if they can. I know it's super busy too, and people have to coverage and stuff. But if you're able to, you took them. You made it happen because you were like, I'm rearranging things. I'm going to be there, and I believe are you walking with me for the American Heart Association?
So I was denied that day off. But
I say call in sick.
Calendar.
I would say call in sick, but this is going to be be public, so don't call in. Oh God, I hope you're really not sick that day because then they're
no, it's fine. No, I did. It's in my calendar. So if things open up or switch around, then I'll let you know. But
I sure appreciate that. I always wonder. I'm always like, put that. I'm like, I wonder if Michelle's going to jump on that because she's my go-to person here on doing that. And Kendall also came out and helped out with the decorations and stuff. So we do have a few dispatchers out that are going to be walking for the American Heart Association now. And this is later. I mean, this podcast is later. The American Heart Association walk was September 23rd in Tarrant County. So again, I guess it's kind of hard to talk about the podcast and then it's in a future tense, but then we're talking about past tense in a future tense. You know what? Y'all get it.
It's
listeners
fine. It's
understand.
Multitasking.
Yeah, it's part of my skills aren't as sharp as they used to be because I don't dispatch anymore, but they're somewhat there in a different way. So, what do you foresee in the future, as in how you supervise, or do you have are you able to set projects up or different, group trainings or different things to get the dispatchers more involved in a more an internal way here at Irving? Or, because you're very active, and I know we always try to focus on mental and physical health and internal health for the dispatchers and everything. What are some goals that maybe you've set for yourself now that you're in this position?
Well, in the works, I it is in the works for me to become a yoga instructor for
I knew it.
yoga for first responders.
Okay.
So we do that already at our wellness unit.
Yeah, Kendall had shared with us that you guys, I did not know you guys did yoga. I thought that was so cool. I'm going to stop by and do yoga with you.
You want to come with me? You can come
yeah,
one day.
I'll come do some yoga.
You know.
I got a mat. I'll come. You want me to wear the Sally costume?
The mats.
You want me to come to wear the Sally costume?
No, you'll sweat.
We'll do some Sally yoga.
We usually do it at the various fire stations because they have
the space.
Yeah, the space and the
Sally takes a lot of space up, so I won't wear her. Plus, I'll probably end up breaking my arm or my neck.
And it's August, and it's outside.
Yeah, you know what? I had to wear that thing for the back to school roundup, which I love that organization. I love that event. But, oh, man, I was sweating so bad. And I wanted to dance because they were playing all that. They put on Taylor Swift, and I heart Taylor Swift, and Sally loves Taylor Swift. And I just had to show them my stellar dance moves. It was for the kids. It's for the family. So I'm a sucker. I always try to, bring smiles. Mm-hmm. But I'm in that thing dying.
I bet. I'm not jealous.
I'm like, my moves look great, but, man, what a way to go. It'd be an interesting obit. Mm-hmm. Passed away, unfortunately, in the cell phone Sally costume.
I am not jealous of you in that costume in August.
Nah, it's all right. It's all right. I think if my heart was there, I made it through, and I chugged a lot of water after that. Mm-hmm. So, but anyway, no cell phone Sally costume. But Abby, myself, me, I can come, and it'll be great. So that's great. So you're heading that up, and.
So it was supposed to happen already, and then the company had to reschedule, so they've redone it for December, and I just have to wait and see if I'm approved for that, and if not, then the next one's in April.
Okay.
So I got a couple on the back burner, and then because I'm pretty heavily involved in peer support also, and been with our wellness unit since 2016 when they first launched. So I try to stay pretty involved with that as well. And that crosses over with police, fire, as well as spouses on both sides.
Oh, nice.
And family. And we do outings and all the stuff. It's all available.
Oh, that's amazing. So, all right. So you got, not only do you have your supervisor job, but now you do your extracurricular activities. And it sounds like what you're doing is helping the mental health and physical health and welfare of your coworkers and their spouses. Yep. Now, is your yoga class open to the spouses too? Like if they wanted to come?
Because we just don't have the space. I think once there's a facility big enough that we acquire, I think it probably will be, but right now it's just employees. Well,
gotcha.
Because we only have one instructor at this time.
Oh, okay. I get it.
And she's a full-time counselor. So
she's busy.
Yeah, so she's a busybody.
I'll wait for you. I won't take up space.
No, you can take up space. It's fine.
I don't want to. If someone else wants to do it, I don't want it. But you said you were going to go in there and start instructing, so you're going to have to let me know
once I get approved.
Oh, okay. Kendall, shout out. Approver. All right. Maybe by the time this airs, then you'll be approved.
Yeah, maybe.
I'll say something when I walk past your office.
Okay.
Like subliminal advertising or something like that. Actually, I'm not subtle like that. I'll just say, hey, you really need to approve her to be a yoga instructor. And then just walk out. Mic drop.
Let me know how that works.
Yeah.
Just
I'll bring the mic.
me.
I'll bring the mic and then drop the mic and be like, okay, now I got to go back and get my mic.
Yeah, just text me and let me know how that works out.
Okay, sure. You never know. You never know. I've subtle ways of communicating somewhat at some degree, but yeah, that's all right. Well, that sounds fantastic. And you're doing so much, not only for the community, but like I said, for your fellow coworkers, your fellow first responders. And that's really something big there too. What do you have for the public? Do you have any tips or any suggestions you want to give out,
I will say one thing that I feel very blessed to have had in my years prior to being in this industry. My dad was so gung-ho on me knowing my directions. And when you're 10 years old and you're getting quizzed about what direction are we going, you're like, Dad, leave me alone.
Yeah.
But you really are learning. That helped me a lot here because that's what people struggle with.
Oh, gotcha.
People struggle with knowing what direction they're going, even what city they're going towards, because everything is so technology based.
Right.
I'm just following my GPS.
Okay.
Okay, well, what do you see around you?
Right.
So just knowing my directions probably helped me out tremendously.
Oh yeah. And that's a good point to make too, because we so rely on GPS on your Google Maps or your Waze or whatever you use to get around, which is great because they tell us traffic, they give us heads up and things like that. But then you get so tunnel vision to it. So if you have an emergency or you see an emergency, where are you looking? You're pulling back up the map and being like, oh, I'm, but you need to look around you.
Right.
Even just pick a business or something. Not so much mile markers.
No
mile markers. No mile markers.
Those are for truckers, which we appreciate. But
yeah, that's not for 911.
No,
but
it's not for 911 at all.
They like landmarks, and you know, if you're passing an Outback or if you're passing a Red Lobster, then you
I
need
know where those are in the Metroplex.
Everyone. Now, wait, have you eaten back there since you worked there? Or no, you said it's been since you. Okay.
I might have one time, but relatively close to me quitting. I think probably meet up with old people.
Oh, gotcha.
But not since.
Yeah. I get it. But yeah, so landmarks like Red Lobster, or I don't know if that's not a landmark, but businesses and landmarks. I would put it that way. Come on, Abby, get your stuff together.
Like big ones that are
something significant.
Something significant that you can see. Yeah.
And around this area too, most overpasses and stuff like that, they actually have the name of the street printed on it. If you're on 820 or if you're on, whatever highways all through here, 35 and stuff, you can actually look up and you can see, or, pay attention with signs like, oh, I just passed this exit.
Right. And that helps exit. A whole lot.
Yeah.
It helps to know if it's before, an exit. Because what we know is when we're asking people where they are and they don't really know, they might know I'm on 183. Okay, what are you coming up on? What do you see?
Right.
And then they look up and they're like, oh, Carl is coming up.
Yeah.
But the issue probably happened a mile and a half back. So
and it's tough too. It is tough because we all think we'd know how we'd handle an emergency.
Right.
And so I side with the public. I'm always like, okay, they're not in 911, so they're not going to know that. They're just going to know that I need to call, I need to get help, I need to get someone here quickly.
Right.
And I totally get it. But tips like this of just take a quick breath, just kind of be like, all right, this happened. I just passed it. I'm now here, and I believe I saw it at this exit or something like that. And it's tough too because a lot of the highways around here seem like the same highway, but then they change to different highways.
Like 121 and 183.
Yeah.
Right.
I know. Every time I mention that, someone's like, that's 183. I'm like, whatever. You know what? It's all a mush blend to me.
Because the sign says 183, but your GPS will say 121.
Yeah, very confusing. So sometimes your GPSs are great, and they're great for directional. So maybe when you're talking to the 911 dispatcher and you're telling them what's around you, maybe look, you know what? I see on my GPS, I'm south.
Right.
I'm north. I'm east. I'm west. Because that can be confusing. And there's nothing that's going to really tell you directionals, or if your car has
that's a huge bonus
thing.
Now, as a lot of cars have on their rearview mirror on the dashboard, have the direction,
which way you're facing.
Right.
So just some tools. All the tools are there, but I totally get it can be a little intimidating to be like,
absolutely.
oh my gosh, they're asking me all these questions. It almost feels like you're taking your SATs again.
Right.
But you got this. You can do this. You can help 911 out. And I know emergencies. Again, we all think we know what we're going to do, but then once it happens, you're like, oh my gosh. And I think that's even true with people in the industry, when you have to call, you're just like, oh gosh, oh man, make sure I say everything. Now when I've called, I was on top of making sure that I knew exactly where I was, what location, everything. Because I'm like
they're going to pull this call for training if I don't.
Yeah, and be like, yeah, that's our pub ed person for the entire county. Okay. Who's telling people to know their location, yet she failed.
Right.
No, I was good at it. So I'm glad that you brought that up because that's really important. Anything else to follow that? Because that was a good tip.
We do have technology that we use that helps with phone locations, but it's not like TV. It's not super accurate all the time. And it depends on the carrier, and it depends on outages, and it depends on if the towers are busy or not, because your phone will bounce from tower to tower. So a lot of people think that it's like TV and we just triangulate to exactly where you are. And Sometimes it works out like that, and sometimes it doesn't. So it just depends. I wish it was like that.
Yeah, I think,
and I'm sure it will be.
In the future years. Yeah, one day it'll get there, and it's always important to say, like, if you're calling from a landline, exact location. Right. We love landlines. There's a few of them, but they're still out there and they're wonderful. But cell phones, they'll give not the exact address, but they'll give a general location. But again, there could be, other situations that arise that are like, there's a cell phone tower out, or that one's busy, or there are AT&T's like, oh, I'm sorry, we're having issues. And so then you pick up on someone else's, tower, you pick up on Verizon or something like that. Because even if a service provider's down, you can still call 911 because it'll just patch on to the other service providers who are up. That's the nice thing about emergency services. So that's also a good point to bring to the table also. So a lot of good education here.
There we go.
Nice pub ed tag on there.
What else want me to talk about?
I think, you know what? I feel so educated now. So when I drive back to the district office, I'm going to make sure that I'm always aware of my surroundings.
And your directions.
And I don't use GPS anymore because I drive all the time.
Right.
And I know pretty much everything like the back of my hand now. But now when they throw a wrench in there and there's construction or something's closed down, I'm like, oh gosh, it's like off-roading now. I got to get off the highway and off-road it. What's going to happen?
The adventure begins.
Oh, yeah, come on, Sally, let's go.
Right.
So I really appreciate your time, Michele. You're such a great inspiration to those who are in 911 who are wanting to grow their career and maybe do some more extracurricular activities. And that's what a great way of doing that to help the mental health and the physical health of your fellow first responders.
Absolutely.
So I appreciate your time, and I hope you have a good rest of the day.
Well, you too.
Thank you. And to everyone that's listening, thanks again for your support, and thank you for listening. You can catch a new episode of TC 911 Beyond the Call every Monday. And next week, yet again, we'll hear from another leader in 911 in our Tarrant County 911 district area. And until then, have a fabulous week.